The story begins with Haruto, who mentions that he stopped leaving his house 5 years ago during his third academic year of junior high, shortly after being bullied, and claims that he has since lived aimlessly. One day, a divine being appears before Haruto. The goddess informs him that he has been chosen for reincarnation after much deliberation. He speculates that he may have passed away in his room, but the deity clarifies that in this new world, magical strength is everything. To make his new life easier, she promises to grant him extraordinary abilities and advises him to fully enjoy his life. The scene then shifts to Haruto being reincarnated. Haruto finds it difficult to accept that he must start life over as a child. The king, who is his father, is delighted to see that his newborn son carries the royal insignia, and the king orders a mage to determine how much mana the child has. The mage discovers that the child has a mana grade of 2, but adds that since he doesn't appear to have any elemental affinity, the only magic he can use is barrier magic. The king fears that his subjects will be angered by this news, so he and the queen decide to tell everyone that the infant Prince Reinhardt, also known as Haruto, has passed away. Haruto worries about dying so soon after being reborn, but the mage points out that this might be a bit excessive. The monarch, however, ignores him and orders his servants to take the infant to the woods far away and kill him. The goddess who brought Haruto back to life is frantic. She claims to have reincarnated an infant with extraordinary abilities, but nobody is aware of it. She explains that this is because the world's measurement system only goes up to 2 digits, and she also missed giving him an elemental component. The other goddess is curious about the level she assigned him, and the deity then reveals that she gave him a grade of 1002. The scene shifts to Haruto in the wilderness. A huge creature arrives and tries to harm Haruto, but she is unable to penetrate his defenses. The creature eventually gives up after he tries to crush it with a massive piece of land. The creature approaches and mentions her intent to consume Haruto to replenish her mana. Haruto explains that his low mana level led to his abandonment, but the creature wonders if he is the reincarnation of the Demon King because she senses a vast amount of mana coming from him. He lies, claiming to be the Demon King, and the creature then pledges her loyalty to Haruto. Flay, the creature in question, hears an approaching figure. When a knight appears, she asks about his intentions. The knight states that he is there for the infant, but Flay refuses to hand the child over to him. He explains that the baby is a close relative who had been abandoned, and he has come to rescue him. He offers to hire Flay as an attendant if she wishes to serve the child, and she agrees. After joining his new family, Haruto reflects that 9 years have passed. He initially intended to leave, but he chose to stay because of the warmth and kindness of everyone. He mentions that while his life is going well, his only issue is that his younger sister, Charlotte, despises him. Flay plays with Charlotte while Haruto watches them blankly. Their mother informs him that Charlotte is simply shy around him and doesn't know how to interact with boys her age. She then suggests that Haruto do something special for Charlotte and adds that as the heir to the estate, he should spend time with Charlotte and interact with her. Haruto feels trapped at home as his parents constantly push him to do things he doesn't want to do. Later, due to his low mana level, his father, Gold, calls him outside and teaches him how to use a sword. Haruto strikes Gold after enhancing his physical abilities with a barrier, and his strength takes his father by surprise. The scene then shifts to Gold discussing with his partner the possibility that Haruto might be a demon. Charlotte overhears but doesn't believe that Haruto could be a demon. Haruto is puzzled as he wonders why his father hasn't pushed him to practice. Later, he finds out that thieves have been a major problem in the border province, and he is frustrated with the circumstance and wants it to be fixed. That evening, he decides to take care of it with Flay, but Charlotte notices them soaring. When she enters his room, she discovers a duplicate of him, leaving her confused. Haruto arrives while the thieves are in the tower, and he asks Flay to set the mansion on fire after he uses his magic to confront and defeat the thieves. He then informs his father that the thieves had been burned by someone else, so as to keep his powers hidden. Haruto is content that the issue has been resolved when he gets back to the mansion, but Charlotte presses Flay about what she saw. Flay brags about her master to Charlotte and later tells Haruto about Charlotte interrogating her regarding him. Soon after, he discovers Charlotte is watching him, so he uses his magic to install a surveillance camera on her to track her whenever she is onto him. Later, Charlotte is traveling with her mother when the thieves attack them, but the surveillance camera alerts Haruto of the situation. He arrives quickly and saves both of them, but although Charlotte discovers that Haruto saved them, their mother is still unaware. Their father Gold is overjoyed when Charlotte and her mother return home safely, and Charlotte then gives Haruto a hug and tells him how much she loves him. Her parents are touched by this unusual gesture, but Flay is left feeling bitter. We see Charlotte showering affection on Haruto, and although he finds it unusual, he enjoys it nonetheless. He informs her that he is studying ancient magic, and she then tells him that she knows of some resources in a library that will help him. She offers to take him with her. In the library, she selects some books for Haruto to help him. Following that, they spend some quality time together, during which he shows her anime. Charlotte becomes fluent in Japanese and is addicted to anime 2 weeks later, surprising Haruto with her quick learning. He is concerned about his younger sister's new binge-watching habit, so he limits her to watching television for only 3 hours. Haruto and Charlotte continue to spend more time together, and their parents are overjoyed because the two kids are growing closer. Gold is also about to embark on a mission to eliminate the thieves once and for all, and Charlotte believes Haruto should use his abilities to assist their father and make everyone happy. Haruto ends up assisting Gold in defeating the thieves, and following this, he uses his abilities for justice, earning himself the label of Black Knight. Prince Laius and Marianne, Haruto's blood siblings, then pay a visit. Marianne is a lovely, grounded young lady, but Prince Laius, on the other hand, is far too proud, frustrating Haruto with his behavior. When Prince Laius spots Haruto's glum expression, he challenges him to a duel. During the duel, Haruto easily defeats Prince Laius, and Marianne is surprised because she believes Haruto's mana level is only 2. Following that, she questions Gold about Haruto's abilities, and he admits that he is also puzzled. Haruto and Flay work together to drive the thieves out of town, and he does this simply for Charlotte's amusement while she watches him battle foes on the security camera he previously gave her. Meanwhile, the prince and Marianne are about to receive Charlotte, so Haruto decides to check her route's safety before she leaves. While investigating, he comes across a group of individuals who resemble Satanists summoning someone, and he goes to inspect the group to determine whether they are a threat to Char's life. He soon realizes they are dangerous, and he is forced to use Flay's assistance to fight them. Shortly after, he discovers that the queen consort, Haruto's biological mother, is plotting Char's death. Angry, he decides. The prince and Marianne are seen traveling with Charlotte and the duplicate Haruto, and they are still perplexed about how Haruto managed to win the duel. The real Haruto approaches his father and indirectly inquires about the consequences of the queen consort's death, only to discover that it has the potential to spark a civil war. Thus, he gives up his plan. Following that, Haruto decides to protect Charlotte until she is old enough to become queen, but he also muses on this, wondering when he'll finally be able to live as a recluse. Queen Gizelot is seen disciplining her subjects for failing to murder Charlotte for the 3rd time, but the subjects inform her about the Black Knight and how he is an obstacle. Soon after, Haruto appears in his Black Knight outfit, and he and Queen Gizelot fight it out with their powers. Although she is a formidable foe, he ultimately triumphs over her. After defeating her, Haruto places a metal chain around Queen Gizelot's neck and forbids her from attacking his family. He warns her that if she tries to remove the chain herself, she will lose her head, but he assures her that if he believes she is not plotting against his family, he will remove the chain. There is a time leap of 5 years. Haruto, Charlotte, and Flay are seen building snow castles, and after a while, Hart and his wife appear. Haruto asks if Queen Gizelot has plotted against Charlotte, and Hart tells him that she hasn't made a move in 5 years. Haruto realizes that now that Queen Gizelot has stopped plotting against his family, he can finally begin living as a recluse. However, Hart informs him that he needs to go to school because the king himself has gotten him into an elite academy. Haruto is upset, but he agrees to go, although he assigns his duplicate self to attend school in his place and get himself expelled by proving to be of no use. Haruto's duplicate self is initially against the idea, but after some persuasion, he agrees on the condition that Haruto protects him with his barrier magic. Haruto looks for an attendant to accompany him to school in the royal capital, but he attempts to do so without informing Flay and Charlotte, which proves difficult as Flay questions him about it. Despite his best efforts, Haruto is unable to find a suitable candidate to serve as an attendant. Soon after, he learns of a blue dragon that has been roaming the town's outskirts, and his father expresses concern about the dragon entering their territory and killing the inhabitants. Charlotte, however, feels sorry for the dragon and requests that Flay help it, believing it might be lonely. As usual, Haruto takes Charlotte's concerns seriously and sets out with Flay to find the blue dragon. When they encounter the dragon, it becomes anxious and begins to attack in self-defense, which upsets Flay. But Haruto, recognizing the dragon's motivations, intervenes to calm it down. After the dragon relaxes, it explains its situation to Haruto and Flay, who then show kindness toward it. The dragon, curious about Flay's loyalty to a human like Haruto, questions her about it. Flay then reveals that her master is a demon reincarnated. After hearing the story, the dragon pledges its loyalty to Haruto as well. Soon after, Haruto helps transform the dragon into a girl, which makes Flay envious of the dragon, who seems to have taken her place. Flay explains her role in Haruto's life, but despite this, Haruto takes off with the dragon, leaving Flay behind. Lisa is welcomed into Haruto's home, where she is greeted by his family and loved ones. Haruto's dad, Gold, thinks it's a good idea for Lisa to work as a maid, and she quickly picks up on how to carry out her duties around the house. Eventually, she becomes even more skilled than Flay. The decision to hire Lisa as Charlotte's private maid has been made by Natalia, who is also Haruto and Charlotte's mother. Charlotte comes under Lisa's service, and Lisa teaches her magical skills while assisting with her schoolwork. As a result, Haruto believes that Lisa will make an excellent attendant for him. Haruto reveals to Charlotte that he plans to further his education in the nation's capital. She is concerned about him and calls a meeting of her knights to discuss the situation. She warns them that the educational institution is an unsafe environment rife with potentially harmful clubs and councils led by unscrupulous students. After the meeting, Lisa informs Haruto about what was discussed. Haruto reveals that he is working in the shadows to bring down the corrupt organizations, and he invites Lisa to accompany him to stay in the capital. Upon hearing Haruto's request, Lisa gives her approval right away. At the very end of the episode, Haruto examines the levels of magic possessed by Lisa, Flay, and Charlotte. He makes the startling discovery that if Charlotte reaches her full potential, her magical capacity will surpass that of the Queen. Haruto also finds out that Charlotte has always had high levels of intelligence. Laius and Marianne are shown having a talk, and we learn that Laius is the one who put Haruto's name forward to attend the Royal Capital School. The Queen Consort Gizelat appears and demands that Laius keep an eye on Haruto while he is in the Royal Capital. As a result, Laius feels guilty about putting Haruto in such a precarious situation. Meanwhile, Haruto and Lisa leave to travel to the Royal Capital. On their journey, they come across a horse-drawn carriage being pursued by a dangerous animal. Haruto dons his Black Knight armor and confronts the beast, and it soon becomes apparent that one of the passengers is a mysterious woman who seems to be keeping secrets. Upon arriving in the royal capital, Haruto finds the amount of work there overwhelming. He and Lisa quickly depart through a magical door and head back to their home. When Haruto finally arrives, he requests that Flay prepare something for him. Charlotte, however, insists that they eat at one of the restaurants in the royal capital. Following this, Haruto, Charlotte, Lisa, and Flay use the magical door to travel back to the royal capital. To get a general feel of the place, the four of them decide to go in different directions, but Charlotte suggests that she and Haruto explore the area together. After everyone has dispersed, Charlotte reveals to Haruto that they are going on a date. Haruto is confused because Charlotte is his sister, but he concludes that she is unaware of what a date is and decides to act as though nothing is wrong. Haruto and Charlotte have an unplanned encounter with the mysterious woman. After she leaves, Charlotte reveals to Haruto that she has noticed something peculiar about her. We see Haruto heading to school, where he discovers there is an entrance test. He plans to score poorly on it so that the assessment committee will expel him. When given the test, Haruto simply states, "I don't know," without understanding the questions. He resolves to give convincing answers to a few questions if they suspect he's being shady. Haruto's response sheet leaves a lasting impression on one of the professors, who attempts to persuade him to be her trainee. However, Haruto rejects the offer and walks away in frustration. Next, it's Haruto's copy's turn to attend school. On arrival, he immediately recognizes Iris and the vice president of the student council. Determined to avoid his extroverted classmates, he stays as far away from them as possible. The vice president of the student council starts bullying Haruto's double when he tries to run away. He proceeds to attack Haruto's copy, who remains unharmed due to the barrier Haruto has constructed around him. The vice president, however, becomes extremely bitter about this. Later that day, the vice president orders Iris to dance naked. Iris begins to undress because she feels she has no other option. Just then, Haruto appears in his Shiva outfit and strikes the vice president. In the episode's closing minutes, Haruto inflicts a wound on the boy, warning him that he will only make matters worse if he attempts to heal it. Once the boy makes amends for his wrongdoing, Haruto promises to treat the wound. As a result, the boy vows that he will not spare Shiva. Haruto reaping the benefits of his recent popularity and has become the talk of the town ever since he defeated Schneidel. Not long after that, Haruto is confronted by his professor and royal cousins, all of whom inquire as to the field of study he will be pursuing. We can see that Laius, Marianne, and the professor are all exerting pressure on him to join one of their departments against his will. Iris then makes her presence known shortly after this. Haruto exploits her presence as an escape in order to get away from the three of them. Iris expresses her gratitude to Haruto in private for the assistance he provided. Furthermore, she asks Haruto to become her friend. He eventually gives in after being persuaded. Meanwhile, Flay reveals the true name of the Demon King to Lisa. She continues by informing her that the name of the Demon King is Iris and that it has most likely assumed the shape of a human this time around. In the royal capital, Haruto concludes that he should capitalize on his friendship with Iris. As a consequence of this, he decides to become a member of her department so that she can help him with his academic work. Iris and Haruto decide to go to his room in order to finish filling out the department forms. They immediately meet Charlotte upon entering the room. Following that, Charlotte continues to compliment Haruto while he and Iris complete the forms. Iris is completely taken aback by Haruto at this point in the conversation. Iris's eyes are closed by Haruto at the climactic moments of the episode, as Charlotte leaves through the anyplace door. Iris asks Haruto how Charlotte left, but he doesn't answer her question. We first see Haruto on the first day of school, dreading having to sit through any lectures. Based on his test scores, Haruto has been placed in the C-rank class, which represents the average percentile. Additionally, Charlotte tells Haruto that she deliberately chose challenging courses for him. Haruto then resolves to use the fact that he is being assigned difficult classes to his advantage by deliberately underperforming in them in order to get expelled. When Haruto arrives in the capital, he meets Iris, who is one of the test's top scorers and is therefore enrolled in the highest class. Following that, they split up and head to their respective divisions. At the beginning of the lecture, Haruto's lecturer introduces a test that will determine whether the students in a target group should be moved up or down a level. Haruto breezes through the exam owing to the knowledge he gained from Charlotte's lessons. He is now convinced that the professor gave them a simple test to make them feel good about themselves. As a result, Haruto resolves to keep things ordinary during the test, so as not to raise suspicions. Consequently, he is enrolled in the A class and given a grade of 60%. Haruto's new professor is taken aback by the young man on his first day of class and is really impressed with Haruto's response to one of her questions. However, he turns down her offer to join her study team. When Haruto's duplicate and Iris show up for the study they signed up for, the professor discusses Schneidel and the old barrier magic employed on him. When the professor begins to suspect that Haruto is behind the magic, the real Haruto appears in disguise as Shiva. The professor can't contain her enthusiasm at finally meeting Shiva, but despite Haruto's refusal to reveal his true identity, she continues to probe him with questions. Following that, he offers Schneidel healing if he stops the duel. Shiva uses a barrier magic spell on the professor, rendering her immobile, and refuses to let the professor use the washroom until she guarantees that she won't investigate his true identity. Seeing no other option, the professor agrees to stop investigating his true identity, and Haruto lets her go. Haruto's double is seen at a celebration hosted by Professor Tirieta. The party is in celebration of Haruto and Iris's welcome to the research lab. During the party, Iris gets extremely drunk and her emotions take over. She thanks Haruto for providing her lab companionship. Following this, Professor Tear also drinks heavily and reveals to Haruto's double that, despite possessing all the elements, Iris' mana level is only 5. Schneidel plans to attack Haruto and his companions that night with his minions. Haruto dons his Shiva costume and defeats them with his new power, which involves opening and duplicating doors. Following this, Shiva goes to see Schneidel and ends up confronting him. Schneidel injects himself with something, and he becomes a monstrous beast to escape punishment. Haruto has a hard time beating Schneidel in his new form, but at this point, Char contacts him. She brings the beast shrinking to his attention. As a result, Haruto causes a downpour of blades, and Schneidel reverts to his normal shape, but with some strange new behaviors. In the closing moments of the show, Char decides to infiltrate the university with Flay and the others. After witnessing all of this, Haruto resolves to keep a careful eye on the university to ensure Char's safety. And that's how the season ends. Let me know what you think about this anime, and as always leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.